The alarm bells rang through the Deep Space Research Station, Sejong like thunder in the cold void. Dr. Hyunwoo Kim dropped his coffee mug and ran toward the containment bay. His heart pounded as boots echoed on metal floors. After 15 years, studying dead alien samples and empty space rocks, something alive had finally arrived. The station floated near a dying red star that painted everything in bloody light. Hyunwoo had been posted here because nobody expected to find anything interesting. The star was too old and too far from trade routes, but today changed everything. Commander So-min Park stood outside the containment chamber with her arms crossed. Her face looked serious as always, but Hyunwoo could see excitement in her dark eyes. Through the thick glass window, something moved. Inside the white room. "What do we have, Commander?" Hyunwoo asked while catching his breath. "Our patrol ship found her drifting in an escape pod 3 hours ago. The pod was damaged and she was barely alive. We brought her aboard for medical treatment, but then we saw what she really was." Hyunwoo pressed his face against the glass. Inside the room sat the most beautiful creature he had ever seen. She looked almost human, but her skin glowed with soft, silver light. Her hair flowed like liquid mercury, and her eyes were large and blue like deep ocean water. She wore a simple white medical gown that the crew had given her. When she saw Hyunwoo watching, she stood up slowly. Her movements were graceful like a dancer. She walked to the glass and placed her hand against it. Her palm glowed brighter where it touched the surface. "Please," she said in broken English. Her voice was soft and musical. "Let me go. Please let me go home." Hyunwoo felt his throat tighten. She sounded so sad and afraid. But he was a scientist, first. This was the greatest discovery in human history. "Can she understand us?" he asked So-min. "She speaks basic English and some other Earth languages. Our communications officer Jin Ho thinks she learned from our radio signals. She calls herself Velnara." The alien woman stepped back from the glass. Tears rolled down her silver cheeks, and where they fell, tiny lights sparkled on the floor. Even her tears glowed with inner fire. Tae-ho Lee rushed into the observation room carrying a tablet full of readings. The young physicist looked excited and worried at the same time. His black hair was messy from running. "Commander, you need to see these bioscans. Her body temperature is normal, but she generates energy like a small fusion reactor. Her blood shows readings we have never seen before." "What kind of readings?" Hyunwoo asked. "Her blood cells contain microscopic organisms that seem to manipulate quantum fields. Every time her emotions change, the energy output spikes. When she cried just now, the readings went crazy." Through the glass, Velnara sat down on the simple bed. She wrapped her arms around her knees and rocked back and forth. Soft light pulsed from her skin in slow waves like a heartbeat made of starlight. "She is scared," Hyunwoo said quietly. "She should be," So-min replied. "But we should be scared too. We don't know what she can do or why she was running. Her escape pod had weapon damage." "Someone was hunting her," Tae-ho said while studying his tablet. "The pod's computer was mostly destroyed, but we recovered some data fragments. There were massive ships chasing her before she jumped to our system." Velnara looked up at them through the glass. Her blue eyes met Hyunwoo's brown ones. In that moment, he felt something he had never experienced before. It was like she was speaking directly to his mind without words. He felt her loneliness and terror, but also her hope. "We cannot just let her go," So-min said firmly. "She is the first living alien we have ever found. The knowledge we could gain from studying her could advance human science by centuries." "But she is not just a specimen," Hyunwoo argued. "She is intelligent. She has feelings. She asked us to let her go." "And she might be dangerous," Tae-ho added. "Those energy readings suggest she has abilities we don't understand." Velnara pressed both hands against the glass again. This time, her whole body glowed brighter. The lights in the observation room flickered as energy flowed through the stations. "Systems, please," she whispered again. "Let me go before they find me, before they find you." Dr. Da-Yun Choi walked carefully into the medical lab, carrying a small vial of glowing liquid. The alien's blood sample pulsed with soft blue light that cast dancing shadows on the white walls. She had been the station's chief medical officer for 8 years, but nothing had prepared her for this. The blood was unlike anything she had studied before. Under the microscope, tiny organisms swam through the silver liquid like living stars. They moved with purpose and seemed to respond to her presence. When she leaned closer to look, they glowed brighter. "Fascinating," she whispered to herself. Each microscopic creature was beautiful and complex. They had crystalline structures that bent light in strange ways. Some were round like pearls, while others looked like tiny flowers made of glass. They connected to each other with thin threads of energy that sparkled like spider webs made of lightning. Da-Yun took careful notes on her tablet. The organisms seemed to work together as one big system. When she added a drop of human blood to the sample, the alien organisms gathered around it with curiosity. They did not attack or try to consume it. Instead, they seemed to study it just like she was studying them. In the containment chamber, Jin-Ho, Yoon sat across from Velnara with a translation device between them. The communications officer had learned 12 Earth languages and was good at understanding people. But talking to an alien was different from anything he had tried before. "Can you tell me about your home?" Jin-Ho asked gently. Velnara looked up from her hands. The silver glow under her skin pulsed faster when she felt emotional. Right now, she looked very sad. "Home is gone," she said in broken English. "Beautiful world with crystal cities and singing forests. My people lived in harmony for thousands of years." "What happened to it?" Jin-Ho asked. "The devourers came. They eat everything. They eat light and life and hope. They turned our paradise into empty darkness." Her tears fell again, and where they hit the floor, small flowers of light bloomed for a few seconds before fading away. Jin-Ho watched in amazement. Even her sadness created beauty. "How did you escape?" he asked. "My people built ships to carry survivors to new worlds. But the devourers followed us. They hunt us across the stars. They want what flows in our blood." Meanwhile, in the physics lab, Tae-Ho Lee stared at readings that made no sense. The energy patterns from Velnara's blood sample defied everything he knew about science. The tiny organisms seemed to bend the rules of reality itself. "Commander Park, you need to see this," he called over the communication system. So-Min arrived, quickly with Hyunwoo following behind her. They found Tae-Ho pointing at a holographic display showing complex energy waves. "The organisms in her blood can manipulate quantum fields at the molecular level," Tae-Ho explained. "They can change the basic structure of matter and energy. This could explain how her people traveled between stars without using massive ships." "They use their own bodies as spacecraft," Hyunwoo realized. "More than that, these organisms could revolutionize everything we know about physics, medicine, and technology. If we could understand how they work, we could solve humanity's greatest problems. We could cure diseases, create unlimited clean energy, even travel to other galaxies." So-Min crossed her arms and frowned. "But at what cost? Da-Eun's report says the organisms are dying outside their natural host. Taking them from Velnara might kill her." Back in the medical lab, Da-Eun made a disturbing discovery. The blood sample was slowly losing its glow. The tiny organisms were becoming less active as time passed. They needed something from their host that she could not provide in a test tube. She opened a channel to the others. "We have a problem. The organisms cannot survive long outside Velnara's body. If we want to study them properly, we need to keep her alive and healthy. Or find another way to preserve them," Tae-Ho suggested. Hyunwoo felt sick at the idea. She is not just a source of specimens, she is a person asking for our help. In the containment room, Velnara suddenly stood up and pressed her hands against the glass. Her whole body blazed with silver fire and the lights in the station flickered. "They are coming," she whispered. "I can feel them in the dark between stars. The Devourers have found your world." Jinho grabbed his communication device. "What do you mean they found us?" "Your radio signals, your spacecraft, your cities full of life. The Devourers follow trails of living energy across space. By bringing me here, you have marked yourselves as targets." The station's long-range sensors suddenly screamed with warning alarms. Something massive was approaching their system. Velnara looked directly at Hyunwoo through the glass. "Now you must choose. Will you use my blood to fight them and become like them, or will you find another way to survive?" The warning sirens filled every corner of the research station, Sejong, with their urgent cry. Haiwon Jung ran through the corridors toward the tactical center with her heart racing. As the station's tactical officer, she had trained for alien attacks, but never believed they would actually happen. The main display screen showed 3 massive shapes moving through space toward their position. Each ship was the size of a small moon and covered in what looked like black metal that seemed to absorb light itself. Strange organic curves mixed with sharp mechanical edges made them look like giant insects made of dark steel. "Distance and speed," Haewon demanded from her crew. 2 million kilometers and closing fast. "They will reach us in 4 hours at current speed," reported her assistant. Commander So-Min Park arrived with sweat on her forehead. "Options, Officer Young. Our weapons are designed for mining operations and small pirates. Against ships that size, we might as well throw rocks at them." In the engineering section, Min-Soo Kang worked frantically at his computer terminals. The chief engineer had been trying to understand the alien technology from Velnara's damaged escape pod. Now he had less than 4 hours to find something useful. "The pod's power source uses the same energy patterns as her blood," he told his team. "If we could figure out how it works, maybe we could boost our shields or weapons." His hands moved quickly over the holographic controls. The pod's computer was mostly destroyed, but he found fragments of data that made his eyes widen. The technology was thousands of years ahead of anything humans had built. "Commander Park," he called over the communication system. "I need to talk to the alien. Her pod contains technology that could save us, but I need her help to understand it." Back in the containment chamber, Velnara sat in the center of the room with her legs crossed. Her silver skin glowed brighter than before, and streams of light flowed around her like liquid starfire. She looked like she was meditating, but her expression showed deep fear. Jinho entered the room carefully. "Velnara, we need your help. Those ships that are coming, can you tell us about them?" She opened her blue eyes and looked at him with sadness that seemed to come from her soul. "The Devourers were once like you and me. They had bodies and hearts and dreams, but they chose to merge completely with the ancient organisms." "The same organisms that are in your blood?" Jinho asked. "Yes, but they did it wrong. They forced the merger instead of accepting it with respect. The organisms consumed their individual minds and turned them into a collective intelligence that only wants to gather more knowledge and power." Her glow pulsed faster as fear filled her voice. "They destroyed my home world to harvest every drop of our blood. They killed billions of my people to steal our connection with the Ancient Ones." "Ancient Ones," Jinho repeated. "The organisms are not just tools or weapons. They are the last survivors of the first intelligent species in our galaxy. Billions of years ago, they ruled among the stars with wisdom and kindness. When their physical bodies died, they chose to live on as symbiotic partners with younger races." Velnara stood up and walked to the wall. She placed her glowing hand against the metal and patterns of light spread out from her touch like growing vines. "My people were chosen to carry their memories and knowledge. We were supposed to find other worthy species and share this gift, but the Devourers want to take it all for themselves." In the physics lab, Tae-Ho Lee studied the new readings with amazement. The organisms contain the genetic memory and knowledge of an entire ancient civilization. This is not just advanced technology. This is the accumulated wisdom of billions of years. Hyun-woo joined him and looked at the data streams flowing across the screen. And the Devourers want to steal all of it. If they succeed, they will become more powerful than anything in the galaxy. No species will be able to resist them. Meanwhile, Minsu made a breakthrough with the escape pod's systems. I found something. The pod has a quantum communication array that can send messages faster than light across the entire galaxy. Velnara was trying to contact other Luminari survivors when the Devourers found her. Somin studied the tactical display as the enemy ships grew larger on the screen. Can we use that communication system? Maybe. But we would need Velnara's help to activate it. The system requires a biological interface with someone who carries the organisms. And if we ask her to help us, we are asking her to risk her life for strangers, Hyun-woo said quietly. Through the glass wall of the containment chamber, they could see Velnara glowing brighter as the enemy ships approached. Her light pulsed in rhythm with some cosmic heartbeat that seemed to connect her to the approaching darkness. They will be here soon, she said without being asked. When they arrive, they will demand that you give me to them. If you refuse, they will destroy your station and everyone on it. And if we give you to them, Jin-ho asked, they will take my blood and add my memories to their collection. Then they will destroy your station anyway because you have seen too much. Hae-won checked her weapons systems one more time. So we fight either way. Yes, Velnara said sadly. But perhaps there is another choice. The Ancient Ones left seeds of hope scattered across the galaxy. If we could reach them in time, they might help us find a way to stop the Devourers forever. The meeting room on Station Sejong had never held such a tense discussion. The research team sat around the metal table while the countdown clock showed 2 hours until the Devourer ships arrived. Outside the windows, the dying red star cast bloody shadows across their faces. Dr. Hyun-woo Kim spoke first, with passion in his voice. We cannot use Velnara like a tool. She came to us asking for help and protection. If we betray that trust, how are we different from the Devourers? Tae-Ho Lee slammed his hand on the table. Because we are trying to save humanity. Those ships out there will destroy everything we have ever built. If Velnara's blood can give us the power to fight back, we have to use it, even if it kills. Her, Hyun-woo asked. Even if it kills all of us, Tae-Ho replied. Sometimes survival requires difficult choices. Commander So-min Park looked tired as she listened to the argument. She had commanded this station for 5 years and made many hard decisions, but nothing had prepared her for choosing between saving one alien life or protecting all of humanity. Dr. Choi, what is Velnara's medical condition? She asked. Da-eun looked up from her tablet with worry in her eyes. The organisms in her blood are dying slowly. She is getting weaker every hour. I think being separated from her people and her homeworld is making her sick. How long does she have? So-min asked. Maybe a few days if we can keep her stable. But if we try to extract large amounts of blood or tissue, she could die within hours. Young Sik Nam had been quiet during the discussion, but now he spoke up nervously. The junior researcher rarely talked in meetings, but his discovery was too important to keep secret. There might be another way, he said softly. Everyone turned to look at him. Young Sik's hands shook as he opened his research files on the main screen. I was studying how the organisms react to different types of blood. When I accidentally mixed some of my own blood with Velnara's sample, something amazing happened. The screen showed microscopic images of glowing organisms moving between human and alien blood cells. The tiny creatures seemed excited as they explored the new environment. Human blood has unique properties that can support the organisms for short periods. They cannot reproduce in our blood, but they can survive and even share some of their abilities with us. Tejo leaned forward with interest. You mean we could create human-alien hybrids? Not exactly hybrids, Young-Sik explained. More like temporary partnerships. A human volunteer could receive a small number of organisms and gain enhanced abilities for a limited time. What kind of abilities? Somin asked. Faster healing, increased strength, limited matter manipulation, and most importantly, access to the ancient memories stored in the organisms. Da-eun frowned with concern. What are the risks to the human volunteer? Unknown, Young-Sik admitted. The organisms seem friendly toward human biology, but we have never tried a full transfusion. The volunteer could die or suffer permanent changes. Hyunwoo felt a spark of hope. But this way we might be able to save Velnara and still gain the knowledge we need to fight the Devourers. If it works, Tejo said doubtfully, and if we can find someone brave enough to volunteer for an untested procedure. I will do it, came a voice from the doorway. Everyone turned to see Yoonji Seo standing in the entrance. The young medical technician looked determined despite the fear in her eyes. Yoonji, you do not understand the risks, Da-eun said quickly. Understand that people are going to die today no matter what we choose. At least this way I might be able to help save both Velnara and our station. So-min studied the brave young woman. Are you sure about this decision? Yes, Commander. I have been working with alien biology for 3 years. If anyone should take this risk, it should be someone who understands what we are dealing with. The procedure could kill you, Da-eun warned. And doing nothing will definitely kill all of us when those ships arrive, Yoonji replied. Meanwhile, in the containment chamber, Velnara sat with her back against the wall. Her silver glow had become dimmer as weakness spread through her body. She could feel the hostile ships getting closer like shadows creeping across her soul. Jin-ho sat outside her cell trying to keep her company. Are you in pain? He asked gently. Not physical pain, she replied. But I feel the sorrow of my people who died. Their memories live on in the organisms, and sometimes their grief becomes mine. The researchers think they found a way to help you and save the station. Would you be willing to work with us? Velnara looked at him with hope flickering in her blue eyes. If there is a chance to stop the Devourers and protect your people, I will do whatever I can. It means sharing some of your organisms with a human volunteer. The connection might be painful for both of you. Pain shared is pain reduced, Velnara said with a sad smile. My people have a saying that suffering alone makes us weak, but suffering together makes us strong. Back in the meeting room, the team prepared for their desperate experiment. The Devourer ships were now close enough to see details on the tactical display. Dark energy crackled around their hulls like captured lightning. We have 90 minutes before they arrive, Haewon reported. If we are going to try this, we need to start now. So-min looked around the table at her crew. This is not an order. Anyone who wants to evacuate to the escape pods can leave now, with no shame. Nobody moved from their seats. Then let us begin, she said, and may we find the strength to make the right choices. The medical bay had been transformed into something that looked like a science fiction movie. Dr. Da-Yun Choi worked quickly to set up the transfusion equipment, while holographic displays showed complex biological data flowing like rivers of light. Time was running out with only 1 hour before the Devourer ships reached them. Yoonji Seo lay on the medical table with wires and sensors attached to her arms and chest. Her heart rate showed on the monitors as she tried to stay calm. She had volunteered to be the first human to receive the alien organisms, but now that the moment had arrived, fear crept into her mind. Are you ready? Da-eun asked gently. As ready as anyone can be for something that has never been tried before, Unji replied with a nervous laugh. In the containment chamber next door, Velnara sat connected to similar equipment. Her silver skin glowed softly, as thin tubes carried small amounts of her glowing blood toward the medical bay. She looked weak, but determined to help the humans who had shown her kindness. "The organisms seem excited," Young Sik reported as he watched them moving through the transfer tubes. "They are clustering together like they know something important is about to happen." Hyun-woo monitored Velnara's vital signs from the observation room. "Her energy levels are dropping fast. We need to complete this procedure quickly. Beginning transfusion now," Da-un announced. The glowing blood flowed through the tubes into Eunji's arm. At first nothing happened and everyone held their breath. Then Eunji's eyes widened as silver light began to pulse under her skin. "I can feel them," she whispered in amazement. "They are alive and curious about me. It is like having friendly visitors exploring my body." The organisms spread through her bloodstream like tiny stars finding new constellations. Where they settled, Eunji's human cells began to change. Her skin took on a faint silver glow and her eyes became brighter. "Vital signs are stable," Da-un reported. "The organisms are integrating with her biology without causing rejection." Suddenly, Eunji gasped and her body went rigid. The silver glow under her skin flared brighter and the medical equipment registered massive energy spikes. "What is happening?" Somin demanded. "The organisms are sharing their memories with her," Young Sik realized. "She is experiencing the collective knowledge of the ancient civilization." Eunji's eyes rolled back as visions filled her mind. She saw beautiful crystal cities floating among the stars. She witnessed the rise and fall of countless alien civilizations. She felt the joy of discovery and the sorrow of loss as species. After species chose different paths through history. "So much knowledge," she gasped. "Billions of years of wisdom and experience. I can see the truth about the devourers." "What truth?" Hyun-woo asked urgently. "They were not always evil. Long ago they were explorers and scientists like us. But they became obsessed with gathering all knowledge for themselves. They forced the ancient organisms to merge with their minds completely and lost their individual personalities in the process." The glow in Eunji's skin pulsed faster as more memories flowed through her. "The organisms tried to resist, but the devourers were too strong. Now they are trapped inside a collective intelligence that only wants to consume more knowledge and power." "Can they be stopped?" Somin asked. "Yes, but not by fighting them with weapons. The ancient ones left a fail-safe in case something like this happened. If enough worthy species join together, they can free the trapped organisms and restore balance." "To the galaxy," Velnara spoke weakly from her chamber. "That is why my people were searching for others to share the gift with. We needed to find species who would use the power wisely instead of selfishly. Species like humanity," Hyun-woo realized. The station shook suddenly as the devourer ships entered weapons range. Emergency lights flashed red and alarms sounded throughout the corridors. "They are hailing us," Jin-ho reported from the communications center. "The lead ship demands we surrender the luminary female immediately." "Tell them we need time to consider their request," Somin ordered. "Buy us a few more minutes." In the medical bay, Eunji sat up slowly. Her transformation was complete, and she looked like a human made of starlight. Silver patterns flowed under her skin like living tattoos, and her eyes glowed with inner fire. "I can feel their ship systems," she said in wonder. "The organisms are showing me how their technology works. Their ships are not just machines. They are living creatures that have been enslaved and corrupted." "Can you communicate with them?" Taeho asked. "Maybe. The ancient organisms inside the devourer ships still remember what they used to be. If I can reach them, I might be able to remind them of their original purpose." "That sounds incredibly dangerous," Da-un warned. "Everything we do today is dangerous," Eunji replied. "But this might be our only chance to save not just ourselves, but the entire galaxy." She stood up from the medical table and walked to the observation window. Through the glass, She could see Velnara smiling weakly at her. "Thank you for trusting us with your gift," Yunji said. "Thank you for proving that. Some species deserve that trust," Velnara replied. The station shook again as the Devourer ships moved closer. Their dark hulls blocked out the light from the dying star and cast everything into shadow. "Commander, they are powering weapons," Heiwan reported. "We have 30 seconds before they open fire." So-Min looked at her transformed crew member. "Yunji, if you are going to try communicating with them, it has to be now." "I need access to the main communication array," Yunji said. "And I need Velnara to help me. Together we might be strong enough to reach the enslaved organisms inside." "They're ships." "Do it!" So-Min ordered. As the countdown reached 0, Yunji placed her glowing hand on the communication console. Silver light flowed through the station's systems and reached out across space toward the approaching ships. In that moment, she carried the hopes of 2 species and the wisdom of an ancient civilization that refused to let darkness win. The 3 Devourer ships hung in space like dark moons that had forgotten how to shine. Their black hulls absorbed light from the dying red star and gave nothing back except shadows that seemed to reach across the void toward Station Sejong. Each vessel was covered in organic curves that pulsed with sick green light. Heiwan Young watched the tactical display with growing dread. "Their weapons are charging, but they have not opened fire yet. I think they are waiting for our response." To their demand, Commander So-Min Park stood in the command center with her fists clenched. Through the main view screen, she could see details on the nearest ship that made her stomach turn. The hull was not just metal and machines. Living tissue grew between. The mechanical parts like infected wounds. Cables that looked like veins carried glowing fluid through the ship's body. "Those ships are alive," she whispered in horror. "Not alive," Yunji Seo corrected from where she stood at the communication console. Her silver glowing skin cast dancing light on the walls around her. "They are enslaved. The Devourers turned entire species into living starships by forcing them to merge with technology." "That is monstrous," Hyunwoo said quietly. Jin Ho-yoon worked frantically at his station trying to intercept Devourer communications. "I am picking up their internal signals. The transmissions are not in any language I recognize, but the translation computer is making progress." Strange sounds filled the command center as the alien voices came through the speakers. The words sounded like grinding metal mixed with dying screams. Even processed through the translation system, they carried an impression of endless hunger and cold intelligence. "Surrender the carrier of ancient blood," the lead ship demanded. "Your species will be examined and cataloged before termination. Resistance will result in immediate destruction." "Friendly bunch," Tae-ho muttered as he studied energy readings from the enemy ships. "Commander, I am detecting massive power buildups in all 3 vessels," Heiwan reported. "If they decide to attack, our shields will not last more than a few seconds." Meanwhile, in the engineering section, Min-Soo Kang made a discovery that chilled his blood. He had been analyzing the Devourer ship designs and found something terrible in their construction. "Commander Park, you need to hear this," he called over the communication system. "Those ships are not just enslaved alien species. They are built from the bodies of entire civilizations. Each vessel contains millions of beings that were absorbed and converted into living components." The command center fell silent as everyone absorbed this horrible truth. The dark ships outside were not just weapons. They were graveyards that could still scream. "The fuel systems run on liquefied consciousness," Min-Soo continued with disgust in his voice. "They power their engines by consuming the life force of their victims. The weapons are made from crystallized fear, and the hull plating is grown from compressed bone." "Stop," So-Min ordered. "I have heard enough." But Min-Soo had one more piece of information. "The good news is that their systems are not as efficient as they could be. The enslaved components are fighting back in small ways. That might give us an advantage." In the medical bay, Velnara struggled to stand despite her weakness. Her silver glow had dimmed to barely a flicker, but her determination remained strong. "I need to help Yunji contact the trapped spirits," she said to Da-un. "They have been suffering for so long. Maybe together we can reach them." "You are too weak," Da-un protested. "The effort could kill you." "Then I will die doing something worthwhile instead of hiding in fear." Back in the command center, Yunji closed her eyes and reached out with her new abilities. The organisms in her blood connected her to the quantum field that surrounded all living things. Through this connection, she could sense the massive ships and the pain that radiated from them. "There are so many voices," she whispered. "Millions of beings crying out for freedom. They remember who they used to be before the Devourers changed them." "Can you communicate with them?" Jin Ho asked. "I am trying, but the Devourer collective intelligence is fighting me. It does not want its slaves to remember their old lives." The lead enemy ship suddenly moved closer to the station. Its organic hull rippled like skin and weapon ports opened like hungry mouths. Green energy began to gather in the dark openings. "They are preparing to fire," Haywan announced. "All hands brace for impact." But instead of weapons fire, a new transmission came through the communication system. This time the voice was different. It sounded like thousands of people speaking together in harmony instead of the cold mechanical tones from before. "Help us," the voices pleaded. "We remember light and love and freedom. The darkness took our bodies, but not our souls. Please help us remember who we were." Yunji gasped as the connection strengthened. "The enslaved spirits are breaking through. The collective control. They are fighting back." "Fight them," Somin ordered. "Show them that some species refuse to surrender their freedom." Through her glowing connection to the quantum field, Yunji began to sing. It was not a song with words, but a melody made of pure emotion and memory. She sang about sunshine on green fields and children playing in safe homes. She sang about love and hope and the courage to protect what matters most. The song reached across space and touched the trapped souls inside the Devourer ships. One by one, they began to remember what they had lost. The organic hulls started to shift and change as the enslaved beings fought to reclaim their stolen bodies. "The ships are showing signs of internal conflict," Tejo reported with excitement. "Their weapon systems are fluctuating, and their engine output is becoming unstable." "Keep singing," Velnara called from the medical bay. "You are giving them back their voices." But the Devourer collective intelligence was not giving up without a fight. Dark energy erupted from the lead ship and struck the station like a wave of pure hatred. The lights went out and systems failed throughout the station. "They are trying to corrupt our technology," Min-Su shouted. "The same way they corrupted those other species." "Not if we have anything to say about it," Somin declared. "This is humanity's first real test among the stars. Let us show them what we are made of." Emergency power cast red shadows throughout Station Sejong as the Devourer attack continued. Dark energy waves crashed against their shields like ocean storms made of pure malice. In the command center, sparks flew from damaged consoles, while the crew fought to keep their systems online. "Hull breach on Deck 7, Haywan reported while trying to coordinate defensive measures. "The dark energy is eating through our armor like acid." Commander So-Min Park watched the tactical display as Devourer boarding pods launched from the enemy ships. The small craft looked like metal insects with too many legs and glowing red eyes. They burrowed through the station's hull and released clouds of black smoke that seemed to move with purpose. "Boarding parties in sections 12 through 15, came a frightened voice over the intercom. "They are not wearing spacesuits. They do not seem to need air to breathe. In the medical bay, Velnara collapsed as another wave of dark energy washed over the station. Her silver glow flickered like a candle in a storm, and Da-un rushed to check her vital signs. "She is dying," Da-un announced with panic in her voice. "The Devourers are using some kind of life-draining weapon. Every attack makes her weaker." Then, "We end this quickly," Yunji declared. Her own silver glow was dimming as she fought to maintain her connection with the trapped souls in the enemy ships. "I can use Velnara's remaining life force to power one massive psychic attack against the Devourer Collective. It might free enough enslaved spirits to turn the tide." "That would kill her," Hyunwoo protested, "and doing nothing will kill all of us," Taeho argued. "Plus, everyone else the Devourers encounter after they leave here. Sometimes the needs of many outweigh the needs of few." "Listen to yourselves," Hyunwoo said with disgust. "You are talking about murdering someone who asked for our protection. How does that make us different from the monsters we are fighting?" The station shook as more boarding pods attached to their hull. Through the security cameras, they could see the invaders moving through damaged corridors. The Devourers had once been many different species, but now they all looked similar. Their bodies were mixtures of flesh and machine with cables instead of veins and glowing circuits where eyes should be. "They are heading for the containment chamber," Jin-ho warned. "They want Velnara alive." "Not if I can help it," So-min said grimly. She grabbed a plasma rifle from the weapons locker and headed for the door. "Wait!" Young Sik called out suddenly. "I have an idea that might save everyone." The junior researcher had been quietly working at his station during the battle. Now he displayed his findings on the main screen with excitement and terror fighting for control of his face. The organisms in Velnara's blood are not just biological. They exist partially in normal space and partially in quantum dimensions. If we could create a quantum resonance cascade, we might be able to distribute the organisms to multiple hosts across the galaxy instantly. "Explain that in simple terms," So-min demanded. "Instead of taking Velnara's blood by force, we help her complete her original mission. We use the station's quantum communication array to broadcast the organism's genetic pattern to every advanced civilization in the galaxy. Any species that proves worthy could receive the gift voluntarily." "That is insane," Taeho said. "We would be giving away the most powerful technology in the universe. We would be doing what the ancient civilization originally intended," Hyunwoo realized. "Sharing knowledge instead of hoarding it." Velnara struggled to speak from her medical bed. "Yes, that was always the plan. Find worthy species and give them the choice to become guardians instead of conquerors. But the Devourers will still be out there," Haewon pointed out. "Even if we create new guardians, the enemy fleet can destroy us right now." "Not necessarily," Yunji said with growing excitement. "If we can free enough enslaved souls in their ships, they might join us instead of fighting us. The Devourers need willing cooperation from their victims to maintain control. If too many refuse to obey, their whole system will collapse." The sound of plasma weapons echoed through the corridors as security teams engaged the boarders. Time was running out. "Fast! I need a decision now," So-min announced. "Do we use Velnara's life to power our weapons, or do we trust her plan to share the ancient gift with the galaxy?" "There is a third option," Velnara said weakly. "I can transfer all of my remaining organisms to Yunji. With that much power, she could reach every enslaved soul in the Devourer fleet and give them the strength to break free. But the process will definitely kill me." "No," Hyunwoo said firmly. "We find another way." "Sometimes there is no other way," Velnara replied with a sad smile. "My people understood that some sacrifices open the door to greater victories. If my death can save your species and free the enslaved souls in those ships, then it is a worthy ending to my story." Yunji knelt beside the medical bed and took Velnara's glowing hand. "Are you certain about this choice?" "I have been certain since the moment you showed me kindness instead of cruelty. Your species has something the Devourers lost long ago. You remember that individuals matter even when facing impossible odds." The boarding party sounds grew closer as plasma fire echoed from nearby corridors. "If we are going to do this, it has to be now," Da-Yun urged. So-min looked around at her crew. Each face showed the weight of the decision they were making. They could choose power and become like their enemies, or they could choose sacrifice and hope for something better. "Do it," she ordered. "But we do it to save lives, not to gain power. The moment we start thinking like conquerors instead of protectors, we become the next devourers." Velnara closed her eyes as silver light began to flow from her body toward that Unji. "Remember us with kindness," she whispered, "and use our gift to plant gardens among the stars instead of graveyards." Part 8. The gambit silver light exploded through the medical bay as Velnara's life force flowed into Unji like liquid starfire. The transfer of every ancient organism was more intense than anything they had attempted before. Yunji's body blazed, with power that made the station's lights flicker and energy readings spike beyond measurement. "Her vital signs are off the charts," Da-Un reported while trying to monitor both patients. The amount of energy flowing through her body should kill any human, but Yunji was no longer completely human. The organisms had transformed her into something new, a bridge between species that could carry the wisdom of ages. Her consciousness expanded beyond her physical body and touched the quantum field that connected all living things in the galaxy. Meanwhile, Velnara grew dimmer with each passing second. Her silver skin faded to pale white as the last of her people's ancient gift passed to their human protector. "Thank you," she whispered with her final breath. "Make our sacrifice meaningful." In the corridors outside, the battle raged as security teams fought desperately against devourer boarding parties. Plasma fire lit the darkness while mechanical screams echoed from the invaders as they fell. But more kept coming through the breached hull sections. Commander So-Min Park led a fighting retreat toward the command center with her plasma rifle burning hot in her hands. "Fall back to defensive positions," she ordered. "Buy the others time to complete their mission." Haiwan Zheng covered their retreat with precise shots that dropped 3 devourers in rapid succession. "Ammunition is running low," she warned. "We cannot hold them much longer." In the engineering section, Minsu Kang worked frantically. 6 months after the battle at Station Sejong, the new Guardian research facility orbited a blue star in human space. The station was twice as large as the old one and filled with beings from dozens of different species. Humans worked alongside aliens who had received the ancient gift and chosen to become protectors instead of conquerors. Dr. Hyunwoo Kim walked through the xenobiology laboratory, where researchers from 12 different worlds studied samples of the ancient organisms. Each species brought their own unique perspective to understanding how the microscopic guardians worked. The crystalline people of Tau Ceti could see quantum patterns that human eyes missed. The plant-based Verdinians from Wolf 359 understood biological symbiosis in ways that amazed everyone. "The organisms adapt to each host species differently," explained Dr. Kethera, a tall being with blue skin and 4 arms who had become Hyunwoo's research partner. "In humans, they enhance emotional intelligence and creativity. In my people, they strengthen logical thinking and pattern recognition. It is like they know exactly what each species needs to become better guardians," Hyunwoo observed. In the medical wing, Dr. Da-Un Choi led a team developing healing techniques that combined human medicine with ancient organism knowledge. The applications were revolutionary. Diseases that had plagued humanity for centuries could now be cured in days. Injuries that would have left people disabled could be healed completely. But the most important work was psychological. The organisms helped heal the emotional wounds left by centuries of galactic conflict. Former enemies found ways to forgive each other when they could literally feel each other's pain and joy through the quantum connection. "Empathy is the strongest medicine," Da-Un often told her students. "When you truly understand how your actions affect others, cruelty becomes impossible." Commander So-Min Park now led the Guardian Defense Fleet from her flagship, the GSV Velnara. The ship was built using hybrid technology that combined human engineering with ancient organism biotechnology. Instead of weapons designed to destroy, they carried tools for healing and protection. Devourer raiders detected in the Vega system, reported her tactical officer, a scaled reptilian being named Sisktar. 3 ships attacking a civilian transport convoy. Set course for Vega, Somin ordered. Maximum speed, and prepare the Liberation Song transmission. The Guardian ships were faster than anything the Devourers could build because they worked with their technology instead of enslaving it. The ancient organisms helped optimize every system for harmony and efficiency, rather than raw power. When they arrived at Vega, the battle was brief. The Guardian fleet did not destroy the Devourer ships. Instead, they broadcast the liberation song that Yunji had perfected, freeing the enslaved souls inside the enemy vessels. Most Devourer ships simply fell apart when their slave components refused to cooperate. Another successful rescue, Siskatar reported. 17 freed souls have chosen to join our rehabilitation program. The rehabilitation centers were perhaps the most important part of the new Guardian network. Beings who had been enslaved by the Devourers needed time and care to remember how to be individuals again. Some chose to return to their home worlds, if any survived. Others decided to join the Guardian cause and help rescue more victims. In the communications center of the Guardian station, Jinho Yoon monitored signals from across the galaxy. The quantum network now connected hundreds of worlds where new Guardian species were learning to use their gifts responsibly. Daily report from the Andromeda Relay, he announced to the station command staff. 47 new species have requested Guardian status this month. The screening committee has approved 23 after careful evaluation. Not every species that wanted the ancient gift was allowed to receive it. The Guardians had learned from the Devourer mistake and carefully tested each applicant for wisdom, compassion, and self-control. Those who failed the tests were offered other ways to contribute to galactic peace. Any word from the deep space monitoring stations? Asked Tae-Ho Lee, who now served as the facility's chief science officer. The Devourer Collective is still active but much reduced in power. Our analysts estimate they have lost 60% of their fleet to liberation actions. The remaining ships are avoiding Guardian territories. In a quiet memorial garden at the heart of the station, Yunji Seo sat beside a crystal monument that glowed with soft silver light. The memorial honored Velnara and all the beings who had sacrificed their lives for galactic freedom. Sometimes when she touched the crystal, Yunji could feel Velnara's spirit still present in the quantum field. "I kept our promise," she whispered to the memorial. "We became gardeners instead of conquerors." Yunji had survived the organism transfer, but she was forever changed. Her hair had turned silver and her eyes glowed with gentle light. She could no longer live as a normal human, but she had gained something more valuable. She was a living bridge between species, able to help others understand the ancient wisdom. "The memorial service for the Altair colony is starting," young Siknam reminded her gently. He had become her assistant and closest friend after the battle. "You promised to speak about the importance of remembering our shared history." The memorial service was held in the station's central amphitheater. Representatives from dozens of species gathered to honor the memory of those lost to Devourer attacks. But it was not just a sad occasion. They also celebrated the courage of survivors and the hope for a better future. "We gather not just to mourn the dead," Yunji said to the assembled crowd, "but to remember why their sacrifice matters. Every being who dies fighting for freedom makes it easier for others to choose. Courage over fear." The ancient organisms had taught the Guardians that death was not the end of consciousness, but a transformation into a different state of existence. The knowledge made grief easier to bear, while making life more precious. The Devourers believed that taking knowledge by force made them powerful, Yunji continued. But true power comes from sharing wisdom freely and protecting those who cannot protect themselves. In the months since the liberation song first echoed across the galaxy, the balance of power had shifted dramatically. The Devourer Empire was crumbling as more enslaved souls broke free from their control. Meanwhile, the Guardian network grew stronger with each new species that chose cooperation over domination. Today marks 6 months since the Battle of Sejong, Yunji concluded her speech. In that time, we have rescued over 10 million enslaved beings, welcomed 47 new Guardian species, and prevented countless tragedies through peaceful intervention. But our work is far from finished. As long as any being suffers under tyranny, as long as any species chooses conquest over cooperation, the Guardians will stand ready to offer a better path. The assembly responded with applause that sounded like music when dozens of different species joined their voices together. Some clapped with hands, others with wings or tentacles, and a few sang harmonic notes that resonated in dimensions beyond normal hearing. After the ceremony, Yunji returned to the memorial garden where she found Hyunwoo waiting with a sad smile on his face. "Still talking to ghosts?" he asked gently. "Sometimes the dead have wisdom that the living need to hear," she replied. "Velnara told me something important today." "What did she say?" "That the Ancient Ones are proud of what humanity has become. We faced the ultimate test of power and chose to share it instead of hoarding it. We proved that young species can learn from the mistakes of their elders." Hyunwoo looked up at the stars visible through the garden's transparent dome. Somewhere out there, new Guardian worlds were learning to use their gifts wisely. Former enemies were becoming friends through shared understanding, and the dream of galactic peace was slowly becoming reality. "Do you think we will ever completely defeat the Devourers?" he asked. "I think we already have," Yunji replied. "Not by destroying them, but by showing the galaxy a better way to live. Every species that chooses cooperation over conquest is another victory for the light." The memorial crystal pulsed brighter as if agreeing with her words. In the quantum field that connected all Guardian worlds, millions of voices sang together in harmony. It was the song of hope that would echo through eternity, reminding future generations that some choices echo across the stars forever.